South Africa is registered in America as a private company. Okay?
What?
Yes. It's not a country, it's a business. You can Google now on New York Stock Exchange. South Africa is registered there as a private company, which has directors and shareholders, not the South Africans. And I'm sorry, many South Africans will hear this and be shocked to their boots. But it's a fact. It's a fact. And it can no longer be hidden anymore that the Reserve Bank is in private hands. The government is in private hands. Land is in private hands. Businesses are in private hands. The common South African now thinks that a fellow Zimbabwean or Mozambican is an enemy. They have not gone to school. They don't understand the scope and the nature of the monster which they are dealing with. So yes, South Africa must go and negotiate with Russia because their stock exchange on New York will be affected.
If you are still thinking of going to vote, let me inform you of something that maybe you do not know of. And this should be something that you should know. The Republic of South Africa is a corporation which is registered in Washington, D.C. As you can see there, Washington, D.C., United States Security and Exchange Commission, where the Republic of South Africa, name of the registrant, is registered. And let's look at who owns South Africa. There you can see who's the CEO, who's the deputy CEO, everybody that is involved there. Who's the members? Bill and Melinda Gates, World Health Organization, ANC Veterans, ANC National Executive Committee, Democratic Alliance, ANC Ministers, Economic Freedom Fund. There is your owners of South Africa. Let's look at what they borrowed against your name. $1.4 billion, which must be paid back in 2032. $1.6 billion that must be paid back in 2052. You are the person that is responsible for paying back this money that was lent from the IMF. So if you're still thinking of voting, think again, because this is open. Go to sec.gov and you will find much more documents pertaining to this whole matter. You are sheep. You are being sold. They cannot pay back this money, so you are going to lose everything when they come for what was taken from them. Wake up, South Africa. Voting is not what you think it is. You are slaves. Slaves are illegal. You need to become a living man and a living woman.
South Africa is not a country, but a registered company listed with the New York Stock Exchange. A company has a CEO, board of directors, and shareholders, who control its direction, as well as operations. A company is after profits for its shareholders, and is not necessarily invested in the well-being of a country.
The South African Reserve Bank is the oldest bank in Africa and one of 8 banks globally that is privately owned, alongside Japan, Greece, Turkey, Switzerland, Belgium, Italy, and the USA. There are a total of 2 million shares allocated among 836 shareholders. Each shareholder is allowed to have a maximum of 10,000 shares. For every 200 shares, you are allowed 1 vote, which means for every 10,000 shares, each shareholder is allowed 25 votes. Shareholders are only entitled to 10 cents per share dividend on an annual basis paid from the accumulated reserves. So it's not about the money. The benefit of being a shareholder is access to financial data and information gathered by the South African Reserve Bank, which is released at its annual general meeting, most of which becomes publicly available. Private shareholders do not influence the South African Reserve Bank's monetary policy. There is nothing special about it, said Ruud. Shareholders' rights are limited to considering the South African Reserve Bank's annual financial statements, electing 7 of the non-executive directors of the board of directors, appointing external auditors, and approving their remuneration. The president selects the South African Reserve Bank's governor, deputy governors, and its other 7 directors. So he's saying there's nothing special about being a shareholder, and that the shareholders don't decide the monetary policy of the South African Reserve Bank. Although he fails to mention that they have first access to the financial data, even though it becomes publicly available afterwards. They also get to elect 7 of the executive directors of the board and decide on the governing bodies that audit the banks. This is important. Why? I'll show you in the next slide. If you look at the shareholders of the South African Reserve Bank, you will notice that a lot of the shares are owned by other financial institutions like Absa Bank, Bidvest, Discovery, FirstRand, Old Mutual, and Standard Bank. So banks own the shares of the South African Reserve Bank and have the deciding factor of the auditors who will audit themselves. Do you understand? So in September of last year, an article was published where South African Reserve Bank was in muddy water because of its attitude towards the allegations made against other banks that were doing some fraudulent activity in areas like Zimbabwe. The officers at the 3 banks were alleged to be on the payroll of a money launderer working for a cigarette magnate and smuggler and would enable dubious money transfers and remove evidence from the computer systems, all while getting monthly payments, according to Al Jazeera. Asked what action has been taken against Standard Bank and the serious allegations, the Reserve Bank spokesperson, Thoraya Pandy, would only say, the South African Reserve Bank does not comment on our supervisory relationships with the entities that we regulate, because the entities that they regulate are owned by them. As you can see, the South African Reserve Bank is responsible for regulating and supervising financial institutions. But the regulating financial institutions own them. Then in November of last year, Standard Bank settled in court for 42 million rand against the Competition Commission of South Africa, was alleging that it was manipulating the ZAR USD currency pairs. Then in January 2024, the case was dismissed due to continuous appeals from the bank's legal side. Standard Bank even issued a statement, said that they welcomed the decision for the court dismissing the currency manipulation case against them, acting like they're innocent. And I looked through this case, and I can tell you that they were not innocent. There were a whole lot of banks colluding together in chat rooms and stuff. That was the whole allegation. There were a lot of men with the surname Katz, who was part of the shareholders of this thing. They were colluding in chat rooms and stuff to fix the prices. Now, this is hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't even know how much money we're talking about yet. So only our minds, small little poverty minds, can't comprehend, all right? And the decision was thrown out of court because those banks don't have locality status, essentially here. Peregrini, you see? Legal terms. So it was thrown out of court not because they were innocent. It was thrown out of court because of this over here. And because they threw them all into one pot and tried to make a case against all of them. And they were all different cases, and each one needed to be done on an individual basis. So that's why it was thrown out. Not because they were innocent, but because they couldn't, they drowned them in litigation. Since 2017, this court case has been going on. So they drown them in paperwork, legalities, cost them a lot of money. And this is their aim, because they just drown you in paperwork and tell you forfeit and you dismiss the case because it's too powerful for you. Their money and their legal teams are too powerful for the Competition Commission in this case. They needed to come with something better, and they didn't. And so they won the case, and you know nothing about the case until now, till I brought this case to you, so that you can know what's going on behind the scenes, and that only certain people can control the money supply. That is over 800 shareholders. And it's not, if you want any shares from the South African Reserve Bank, you need to get it from one of them. And none of them are prepared to sell. I'm telling you that now already. If you want to go and get it, you can't get it from them if they are willing to sell. And they're not willing to sell. There's a lot of surnames there that are similar. They are the same. And they're still in the same places. So they get together, obviously, and vote. It's 800 people. You can put those people in a room. And they can all have drinks together the night of the annual general meeting. You understand? They all have drinks together. They all know what's going on. They're all colluding together. And you are being robbed blind. Not even understanding how you are being robbed. Because it goes beyond your mind of understanding the economics, the financial economics of countries. It's something your mind can't fathom. When the dollar manipulation of South Africa, you know how much money that is. And they were fined 42 million. It's like cents. It's like cents to them. Anyway, that's it for today.